Hey guys, how's it going? This is the Stupendous Wave, and in this video we'll be talking about Star Wars Episode 7, What Will the Lightsaber Combat Look Like? So I think the things that we need to look at the closest in this situation to try and decipher what the lightsaber combat in Episode 7 could be like is, number one, we need to look at the director that was chosen, and also we need to look at the story. What story plot points have been set up that would indicate what the combat will be like. Now, as far as the story goes, I think we should look at that Kylo Ren, he's a fairly young individual, being around 30 years old, and he is the only one thus far that is confirmed to be using a lightsaber. We do know that Luke's lightsaber was handed to a character in the trailer, and that is either what I assume to be Rey or Queen Leia, but it hasn't been activated yet. We know Luke uses a lightsaber, but we haven't seen him pull it out yet in any of the footage that we've seen so far. So the only one that we've seen thus far at this current point in time pull out a lightsaber is Kylo Ren, and him being around 30 years old and what I'm assuming to be fairly inexperienced with the Force and the lightsaber, kind of being the first in this new era of Sith-like beings that have arose again, or Sith sympathizers is what I like to call them. He is most likely fairly inexperienced. Now, the other Jedi, which I also assume to be Rey and Finn, would be inexperienced as well, because as far as we know, neither of them have had any lightsaber or combat training at all. So for the combat in this movie, taking into account that we have a lot of inexperienced individuals in the mix, I assume that the lightsaber combat will be a little bit clunky, still very, very fast paced, but a bit clunky, and not in a bad way. I mean, inexperience in this situation can be a very, very good thing, because in the prequels, while they had some amazing lightsaber duels, I feel like they may have been a little bit too precise and too clean, and this is something that I feel like J.J. Abrams is going to kind of change up. I think that a perfect merge between the original trilogy, which kept it precise and clean, but at the same time you really felt tired as the duels went on, and you felt that the characters were looking tired, and the prequels did improve on that. The final duel in Episode 3 is just fantastic, but the other duels, I never felt like the fatigue of the characters, and that's something that I would definitely like to see here. As our characters are dueling with their lightsabers, I'd like to see them get tired. I'd like to see them make a few mistakes, because I think the best example and my favorite lightsaber duel of all time is the Bespin lightsaber duel. We felt for Luke as he got tired and as he felt a more experienced foe, and that's something else that I think will be going on. Although Kylo Ren may not be as experienced as the people were in the prequels, or the Jedi were in the prequels and the Sith, I do think that he should outclass the new Jedi if they are Rey and Finn. So we should be in a situation where we're fearing for them almost as much as we feared for Luke when he fought Darth Vader, because if these two characters do end up, or one of these characters do end up fighting someone more experienced than them, we should fear for them, because they should, at the end of this movie, have little to none. I mean, Luke, he was clearly inexperienced in his fight with Darth Vader, but he still had been training for a while with Yoda, so he had a little bit of that on his side. Now, as far as J.J. Abrams goes, we've seen that he has some really, really gritty action sequences, and that's what I think that Star Wars really, really needs. We've got the grittiest action sequence that we've gotten so far is the Episode 3 duel between Anakin and Obi-Wan, and that's, again, one of my favorite duels. But I like how the characters got, they integrated punches into the combat and kicks, and that's something else that I want to return, although I do not want the kicks to be as graceful as they were before. Again, a nice grittiness would be awesome. A good example of this is, I think the combat as far as swordplay could be similar to Game of Thrones. I don't know if any of you watch Game of Thrones, but I'm a big fan of that show, and while the swordplay in there is very, very good and very graceful, it's very gritty as well. People will get hurt, they get fatigued, and that's something that I think should be in Star Wars Episode 7. I want to see the fatigue of the characters. I want the characters not to start out so graceful. In Episode 9, I definitely am all for the grace of a Jedi, of a pure strong Jedi versus a pure evil Sith. But as far as this movie goes, I'd like the combat to be a little more gritty and maybe have a few mistakes thrown in there on both parts, because these characters are main characters that we're with now, that we do know has a lightsaber, like Kylo Ren, and then new characters that will have a lightsaber or are rumored to, like Finn and Rey. They are inexperienced and they should have a harder time wielding the lightsaber, and that's just kind of my thoughts as is. We do not know if Supreme Leader Snoke will use a lightsaber in the film. If he does, I would love to see more of a graceful battle between him and possibly Luke, or even a battle between Luke and Kylo Ren. That would definitely be cool. Luke should definitely be the most graceful out of the bunch that we know of so far. Kylo Ren should be a little bit more clunky, still very skilled, but a little bit more gritty and not be as refined as they were in the prequels. So that's just my opinion. I think that the lightsaber combat should still keep its kicks and flips, but find a perfect middle ground between the prequels and the original trilogy, and that's really where I want the lightsaber combat to go. And again, J.J. Abrams having very, very gritty action sequences in his movies, as a good example is Star Wars and Star Trek. That movie, or those movies, have very, very gritty action sequences. When someone gets punched, you really, really felt it, and that is something that I really hope will carry over. So anyway, leave your thoughts in the comments down below. What do you guys think? What type of lightsaber combat do you guys want to see? Are you more of a fan of the more graceful type, or do you want it to be a little bit more gritty? Thank you again for watching. Subscribe for daily Star Wars videos, and have a great day.